Hello, my name is Sylvana Tomaselli and I teach at St. John's College, Cambridge. I'm delighted that today I will be speaking about Mary Wollstonecraft, a woman that I find remarkable and I hope you will find interesting as well. Wollstonecraft lived in the late 18th century. She was born on the 27th of April 1759 and died on the 10th of September 1797. She lived a rather short life. She died following the birth of her second daughter, Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein. Now, I have been working on Wollstonecraft for quite some years, and I mention this because in the period in which I have been working on her, her perception, or the perception people have had of her, has changed. When I began, when I first edited her work, A Vindication of the Rights of Men and A Vindication of the Rights of Women, I often had to explain who she was, because even university-educated people had never really heard of her. This was followed in the, shall we say, late 20th century with the view, general knowledge that she was a feminist, and some people called her the first English feminist. Since then, in the 21st century, she's become better, increasingly well known, and identified either with liberalism or republicanism or utopianism, and I'll return to this later on. So at first I'm just going to go through a timeline just to give you an idea of who she was and when she published. But as an overview, she was not formally educated. She was educated by a number of older friends, acquaintances, and she was mostly self-taught. And this is part of the reason why I find her remarkable, not because this was particularly unusual, nor is it that she was the only woman to be remarkable in this way, but nonetheless, she became a translator from German, from French, from the Dutch. She reviewed very extensively for a journal called the Analytical Review, an important journal at the end of the 18th century. She wrote pedagogical works, the two vindications I mentioned, a historical work, and a work of travel literature. So she's a woman of many sides, many talents, self-taught, very energetic, very active, very forthcoming, very bold, vivacious. And this is important because it comes through her writing. She has a great gift, very rhetorical gift, which she uses very effectively. And her energy, if you wish, comes through her writing. And that energy is remarkable because she did not have an easy life. She had a life marked by increasing financial difficulties, great emotional disappointments, great emotional challenges. This woman is not a woman who had an easy life, who lived in a comfortable environment. She had to move, she had to earn a living, and rather scrape a living rather than earn a living for most of her life. So just to generalize, a remarkable woman, not unique. That's important not to think, and that's one has to give credit to the many women who in the 18th century and in that period were very active intellectually, very active in the literary world, very active politically, and who traveled, including to revolutionary France. But nonetheless, she's outstanding. So just to recap her biography very quickly. I'll go through the timeline now a little bit. As I said, she was born in 1759. Her parents moved from Yorkshire to London. Her father was an alcoholic, one might say. Well, not one might say, he was an alcoholic. And he was brutal to her Mary's mother, and basically spent what inheritance, what money he had. And the family effectively became more and more impoverished. This affected Wollstonecraft and her sisters, particularly her elder brother inherited from their grandfather directly, so it didn't affect him. And in the family, her brother Ed was the only one to receive a formal education. I won't go through all the details of her life, but it's important to know that at one point she became a governess to an aristocratic family which took her to Ireland, to the Kingsborough. And that was important because Wollstonecraft, though she says herself, was very well treated by that family, and Lady Kingsborough in particular, who took her, for example, to concerts and broadened Mary Wollstonecraft's horizons, intellectual and cultural. It reinforced, her period with them reinforced a very negative view she had of the aristocracy. That matters because, in her view, the middle ranks, as they were called, middle classes, thought to ape the aristocracy, and her writings for women, the vindication, or about women, the vindication of the rights of women, I shouldn't make that mistake. It's vindication of the rights of men and vindication of the rights of women, was focused on the middle classes because she thought that they were more susceptible, would be more receptive to the kinds of advice, recommendations, arguments she was making for the education of women, the improvement of their condition in general. So she was very eager that that body of women cease to ape what she thought were aristocratic ladies, whom she thought were bad mothers and had false values. Her first publication appeared in 1787, The Thoughts on Education of Daughters. It was quite a successful work, a work consisting of a number of short essays on a variety of topics, such as music, dress, how to treat people, manners, and so forth. Then in 1788, she published a Mary of Fiction and Original Stories. Mary of Fiction was her first novel. She wrote another novel at the end of her life, which was published by William Godwin posthumously. I can't say that I think much of that novel. It's a matter of taste, I suppose, but it's very, it's moralizing, and so it's not easy for us to read, and I don't think it's particularly well written. But as I said, this is my taste. It may not be yours, and if you do study Wollstonecraft, you might want to look at it. In 1788, also, she published her translation from the French of The Importance of Religious Opinions. This is a translation from a very important French financier, or actually Swiss, but who was a minister to Louis XVI, Jacques Necker. And she also began in that period to write reviews for the Analytical Review. The Analytical Review, reviewing for it, meant that she had access to a wide variety of books and wide variety of subjects, from natural history to plays, poems, travel writing, pedagogical work, all manner of work, and also philosophical work and moral treatises. So it educated her, it widened her knowledge. In 1789, she produces The Female Reader, which is a collection of short excerpts from a variety of 18th century writers, French as well as English. But they're not just 18th century, come to think of it, they also include some 17th century authors and earlier. So a compendium for women to have effectively a basis, a knowledge of their culture. In 1790, she translates from the German Elements of Morality, which, as the title indicates, is a work giving moral advice. It's a pedagogical work as well, to give what one might say a moral education to individuals. Later on, she translates a work which is published on the title Young Grandison, and this is from the Dutch. And in 1790s comes her publication, which is of one of the two of principal interest to us today, and that is The Vindication of the Rights of Men.